Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Timeless, Season 1, Episode 3. It's called Atomic City. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, Connor, did you enjoy Episode 3?
Yeah, it was still kind of fun.
Kind of fun. Rough around the edges still, I think.
Yeah, but like I said, I feel like it's on a similar level to the last couple. It's kind of fun. Nothing. It's got some issues still.
Actually, one of the first things I want to point out is we keep comparing this in DC's Legends of Tomorrow, right? There's parallels between the two that we've been drawing since the start, and we were joking last Legends episode that a couple of things they did made it feel more like Timeless. Well, there was a joke in this, which they were cracking last week on Legends of Tomorrow,
Mm,
because someone mentions a nuclear bomb, and they say, well, technically it's an atom bomb.
yeah,
And that was a joke from last week's Legends, and obviously it's a coincidence, but it doesn't it was funnier because of that. I don't
it
even
was funny. Yeah.
I don't even know if it was meant to be a joke in this episode, but I laughed because of that.
Yep. Same.
But yeah, so they go back to 1962. They go to Las Vegas, and it's funny because they start with a bunch of stuff that we'd been talking about, like how did they find them in terms of like where rather than just when, and they've actually solved that. They've got a way of at least narrowing it down to like a 50-mile radius.
Yeah, kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it though.
Go on.
I mean, I don't know. It's something that I'm sure they had to get to eventually, but them just guessing the event, and then now we can't get the scenario where they guess the event and get it wrong.
True. Although that was another thing that came up in this episode is that Lucy didn't know what the date was. It was just, well, the Cuban Missile Crisis is in a month or whatever, but
Mm.
there's nothing on that date that's notable. And she had to actually do some research, so that was a little bit different, and that was kind of nice.
Also, I think we didn't start with like an original version of events.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we didn't. That's true. We thought that might actually be the constant thing going forward.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe since there was no big event in the past, that there was really nothing to do that with.
Yeah, it wouldn't have, it would have changed things, but only because of things that wouldn't happen in the future. It's not like the event itself would have changed.
So a little bit different there. Also, I feel like they had to take a bit more time this episode and deal with Lucy and her new fiance that she doesn't know.
Mm.
And they did. They took a bit of time at the start, where it's clearly very awkward. And I actually I felt bad for him because I'm like, she's going to have to turn around and like break up with him or make up some excuse as to why they can't just go about their business as normal. And he's just going to be clueless and not know why. And
Yeah.
as far as he's concerned, he's been in a happy relationship for however knows long. And she's just going to suddenly be like, yeah, I don't really know you. Bye.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty rough.
But so yeah, they go back to 1962 because what's his face, Flynn, is up to something. They don't really know what, but it turns out he's trying to steal an atom bomb. Is the gist
Mm.
of it. And there's a whole plot with Judith Campbell, who's this woman who was like a mistress of JFK's, but she also was a mistress of someone in the mob and also a general in the army, and
Yeah,
she like sort of opened a lot of doors between places because of all these like connections
she passed a lot of information to
yeah,
important people.
and she's sort of used in the plot. Which honestly, I mean, obviously it's the main plot of the episode, and there's a whole thing where she sort of like backstabs them, and
Yeah, but after that, she kind of just vanishes for a long period of time.
yeah, it's just kind of the plot of the episode, and I guess it's partly there to for Lucy's character to be like, okay, like she seems like she's got it all under control, but she really doesn't, and
Yeah,
it's just kind of for her to make her decision, but it's not like entertaining or interesting on its own.
it's not. It's more the Flynn stuff in general is interesting and fun.
Yeah,
But
it's a little bit more fun now because this Rittenhouse that we keep hearing about.
yeah,
We now know from this episode that Flynn and whoever's working with him are trying to stop Rittenhouse. Whatever Rittenhouse is a force that they want to stop, which
mm,
is new information because before it was just kind of ask about Rittenhouse. What is Rittenhouse kind of thing.
yeah.
So now we have this. Now they're working against that. So, and again, my theory of ultimately whatever they're doing not actually being that evil.
Yeah, it also makes sense with this Anthony because obviously Rufus keeps saying how he's a good guy. Why would he be doing this? But he's doing it willingly, not kidnapped like they originally thought.
Yeah.
So kind of lends some credence to the idea that maybe what they're doing isn't so morally wrong after all.
Which, actually, I do have a complaint about that. I do thought it was really clunky how they sort of brought that up at the start.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hang on, we better remind you before you run into him.
Yeah, and then we ran into him in that episode. It felt really awkward, and you know, I mean,
There was a few times I kind of felt that in this actually. Like it's towards the end when they get back and what's his name? The guy who runs the company,
Mason.
Mason. So he goes, "Oh, can you track it in the present?" And I felt like, and she goes, "Oh, yeah, but it'll take some time." I was like, "Okay, that's something for an episode or two later down the line, you know." And then it's like 3 minutes later, got it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little bit strange. The timing of some of these things is, and which is amusing because it's a time travel show.
It's weird as well. We're kind of complaining about them doing things too quickly instead of the usual problem with these things at the start is that they're taking things too slow.
Well, I think the problem is that they're not giving some of these things enough time to make them feel like they mean anything. It's just happening so quickly, and like, that was easy. It just feels that was so easy to
Yeah.
to find them in present day.
Like just the idea of tracking the ship feels like something that should have been earned a bit later. I don't know.
It's yeah, it does feel like they're oddly cutting some corners in terms of
Yeah.
the writing here. They're some of it's still interesting. I liked Wyatt trying to send a telegram back to the Future 2 style, which he even references, to try and save his wife, which doesn't work. But, and there was some nice little commentary again with Rufus and how he's like invisible in 1962. Like, no one even bats an eye.
I like when he just pops up with the uniforms.
Yeah. And it works because you sort of buy that no one would question a black man just walking into the servers like area
Yeah.
at that time. So there was some good moments. I do probably think it was the weakest episode though so far.
I agree. Because, like I said, there are these problems that are cropping up. They need to be starting to work on fixing soon.
Because it feels like they are recurring, and if anything, they're getting bigger rather than fixing
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see how that plays out.
I hope
Unfortunately,
it was a bit of just a good episode, though. Because, like I said, it not being a big event, I think might have actually hampered it a little.
maybe.
Because the other two had, like, this historical event. It had a clear focus. Whereas this, it was like, well, let's just kind of go and see what's going on. And it
Yeah.
felt a little bit more unfocused because of that.
That said, though, they can't have a big event every episode because they're going to run out of them at some point.
I don't know. I mean, even if they stick to just American history, they got what, nearly 250 years of events. There's plenty of them.
True, but how soon do some of them start feeling too like similar to other ones? If you've already done one JFK thing, then there's another JFK like moment. Feel like it's just kind of now we're doing the
And-
assassination, or now we're doing this.
Yeah, it depends how they play it. Because you can't, like I say, you can't do every assassination, but I don't know. I think even if you do assassinations in like different time periods, should make them feel unique and interesting still.
Well, I wasn't even saying that they shouldn't do an assassination because they'd already done one. I'm saying that if you already have an episode with JFK, like, do we do another
now
episode
they're
with
doing
JFK?
it. Yeah, okay, I get that.
It starts to feel like they're just getting too similar. But that is the point. They've already done the assassination of Lincoln, so then and we've had JFK, so if they do JFK's assassination later, it's like two things we've already had together. So
Interesting to see if they can pull it off.
so yeah, I'm still enjoying the show, but I'm starting to see a lot more warning signs.
That said, they did play a great lot of Sinatra in this one, so I'm down for that.
Sure.
Just to give it plus points where they're deserved.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't have a. If I was to make a guess about Rittenhouse, right? I'm just thinking about it just now. I feel like a twist that this show could do, and what I would almost hope they might do, is that Rittenhouse, whatever it is already a group of people that went back and altered history, and the history that we know is actually wrong. It was already changed.
Yeah, I can see that being something. That would be why he's saying, like, no, we're saving it, like, because he's the one thing he's putting it back to normal.
Hmm.
Yeah, that'd make sense, and that'd be interesting as well.
It would. It would. So yeah, that's Timeless. Probably the weakest episode yet. Hopefully, it starts to address some of its problems, which seem to be piling up. But let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you next time.